Hi there, my name's Rob Salter. Welcome back to the channel. This is a place where we talk about physical and mental health, and today I want to start with a very sad story that I heard last week. It was a story that happened in this country, in Britain, and it's really quite brutal actually. There's a very well-known ferry company that has a route from Dover to Calais, and I think probably Folkestone as well. And I'll name them, it's P&O Ferries, and they sacked their entire workforce last week with one Zoom call. Somebody actually posted the Zoom call, and it was completely emotionless. I mean, you know, the man expressed regret, as companies do, but thousands of people who had been working for this company, many of them for a long time, devoted themselves to it, kept going during the pandemic, were escorted off the boats, some of them in handcuffs apparently. Absolutely horrific. And it just made me realise, to be honest, that the gloves have come off in terms of the world of work between employers and employees. So as far as employees are concerned, I'm seeing a lot of content now based on what they call the Great Resignation. So people are coming back after the pandemic and they're realising that there's a lot more to life than work, and they don't feel the same need to commit themselves to their jobs as they did, and employers in kind are responding in the same way. So it's people have stopped pretending, I think, is what's going on. They stopped pretending that they care, which is a shame, but it is what it is. So we are in the process of creating or co-creating the new rules of work, which very few people seem to want to talk about at the moment, which is why I wanted to talk about it today. Because I think now is a really good time to discuss what's commonly referred to as the 40-40-40 rule, where you work 40 hours a week for 40 years of your life in order to retire on 40% of your income. This is something that's not really been discussed or thought about, or you don't see it a lot in the media at all. Well, we all kind of realise that that's basically what's going on, and that the game is really quite skewed. So when people come to me and they ask for advice, the first thing I tell them is they need to stop thinking like an employee and start thinking like an entrepreneur or an investor, even if you're not an entrepreneur or investor, and possibly even if you don't have a great deal of desire to be. So the way this happened with me is I just started reading. And if there's one book I can recommend to people, it's an amazing book called Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. If you haven't read it, grab hold of a copy. And really all you need to know is the difference between a liability and an asset. Very, very simple. Basic financial education, which I absolutely did not have when I first read this book, and I was a struggling teacher and I was trying to think, how do I get out of this? What's next? Asset is very simple. It's something that puts money in your pocket. Liability is very simple, something that takes money out of your pocket. Now, Robert Kiyosaki makes very interesting points about the difference between the two and how he confuses them. So for example, he will say most people buy a house and think it's an asset. Actually, it's a liability, because all it's really doing is taking money out of your pocket. Buying a new car, for example, as soon as you get it off the courtyard, it's taking money out of your pocket, it's losing value. What gets spoken about a lot less, something that I discovered a few years ago, is that we can treat ourselves as if we were an asset or a liability as well. Someone who treats themselves as if they were a liability earns money from a job, and the money goes right out again. So the classic kind of cliche about this is that you spend money on things that you don't need in order to impress people who don't care. You can see this all over Instagram, conspicuous consumption. You know, whatever comes in goes out, and if ever we get a salary raise, we just spend more. That's treating yourself like a liability. But treating yourself like an asset is really what I'm suggesting. And that is where you learn to create skills and create businesses around those skills, which then are of value to people and then can help you earn. So ultimately, even if you have a job, you then start creating what they might call side hustles or little businesses, or various ways of getting extra money into your bank account. Now, I discovered the power of these kind of side hustles when I found myself one of those people who would be described as working poor. I made a whole video about this, and the way that I actually survived was to have some extra income streams on the side, things that I had just created, which allowed me to put petrol in the car and buy groceries at the end of the week, and that was with a job. So that was the beginning of my kind of, if you like, entrepreneurial journey, and thinking of myself as somebody who created assets rather than just being a liability to myself. And I think the biggest asset, or the greatest skill that can turn you into an asset rather than liability, is your willingness and openness to learn new things and new skills. So just being here on YouTube has been a place where I've learned so many new skills. Having the willingness and openness to think about how we learn. I made a video recently about coming to understand that I was a visual learner and why that was important for me. So I'm just going to end this by giving a few examples of how this all fits together. So just imagine that you are either made redundant from a job, or you leave a job and you decide you want to travel, you want to take a bit of time to explore the world, but you don't have the money to do that. Lots of people now will go online and they will learn a discrete skill, for example, coding. You don't have to go to university to learn this. You don't have to enroll anywhere in particular. You can simply learn it for free from YouTube. There's a whole bunch of courses and a whole lot of guidance, career guidance, on how you get into coding and how you can turn that into a profession which you can do from anywhere in the world. Another story of a wannabe doctor who created a YouTube channel and ended up leaving the medical profession because the money he was making on YouTube was far better. And then finally, someone like in my position, for example, who's basically taken their pension pot, put it into cryptocurrency, and is using that investment as a way of leveraging time and profit. So really, the new rules of work, as far as I'm concerned, has a lot to do with how you think about things, how you think about work, how you think about money, how you think about the economy, because it's really important, particularly in this day and age, to take responsibility and to not just wait for an employer to hire or fire you.